Hey, everybody. Got Michael Langhals here with us on air with George Adair Small Bites Edition. This is the first Small Bites Edition. And, it's going to be a smaller version of what you've heard from me on the radio on KSRO, where we do a much longer show. So we're hoping to give you some small bites of information tackling three common problems in real estate with mortgage lending, helping to come save the day. I'm joined by my first guest ever on air with George Adair, Small Bites Edition, Mike Langhals. Hey, Mike, thanks for joining us today.
George, thanks for having me. How are you?
Man, I'm doing great. You look
Awesome.
great.
Oh, thank you.
I'm really happy that you've been willing to come on and be my first guest.
Anytime.
And we're going to make it interesting for the folks, right? Talk
Oh, yeah.
about the three problems that we see plaguing people's interest in buying and selling in real estate. So a little bit about Mike. Tell us about yourself. You're with W Real Estate. You've been doing this since when?
Yeah.
2008, right?
2008. Yeah. So I moved back home to Windsor in '08 doing real estate. And I'm at W out of the Windsor office by Oliver's, been at
Yep.
W for about 7 years now. And
Great
then
company. Love W.
awesome company. Yeah. It's great. Great agents, great management, great owners,
Yep.
support staff, everything. So
Great
we love it.
realtors, great teams. Like you
Great
manage the whole
agents.
team, right? You've got a few team
Yeah,
agents
so I got
underneath you.
5 agents. Yeah, 5 agents under me.
Mm-hmm.
Great team, and I think that's kind of how we're seeing real estate transition a little bit into the team market. So it's
Yeah.
nice to have that and have the support of
Yeah.
the owners on it. So
It is. I love that you guys are part of a local brokerage, which means you get to see these issues firsthand in the Sonoma County market. Because, we all hear about things in the press about what's happening in the macroeconomics of real
exactly,
estate and how, the market could crash and all these things could happen to make things worse for consumers. But really here in Sonoma County, the market's fairly strong at certain levels, isn't it?
yeah, no, we've seen that. I mean, we see the headlines, and we get the calls from the buyers like, "Hey, when
Right.
do you think it's going down?" And it really hasn't that much.
Yep. Yep.
And in certain markets, kind of under that 800, 850 price point, it's busy. I mean,
Yep.
multiple offers, bidding up again, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
That
And that's our
next,
first
yeah,
problem, isn't it, Mike? We talked about.
exactly,
So the pricing strategy is really segmented based on the price range. And you and I
exactly.
chatted about that. What's that sort of breaking point that we're seeing?
Yeah. So I think the breaking point, I mean, overall, buyers are a little more picky now than they
Mm-hmm.
were. So you have to price it accordingly in those kind of bigger price points.
Mm-hmm.
I think that 850 and under range, like I was saying, is still getting a ton of activity, multiple offers, bidding up. But you do have to price accordingly, depending on your house updates, all that. And then that next jump up, that 850 to call it 1.2, maybe 1.3,
Yep.
you definitely got to price it and be on. And if you're, and be on it. And if you are, you know, 30 days on market in that price point, you're doing not a $10,000 price reduction. You're probably doing a 40 or 50.
Because it's
Um,
relative as a percentage, right? That's how people
exactly.
think is percentage wise, how much should I drop it? So what you're saying is that at a higher price point, people need to be listening to their realtor, their advisor, and not following necessarily what Zillow says.
Yeah, actually, Zillow, and
Well,
then the
Zillow knows
headlines.
all, Mike. You know
Yeah,
that, right? It's
yeah,
it's the
right.
oracle of real estate.
I love it. Yeah, Zillow's great. Those
Yeah.
estimates or whatever.
These estimates, they made up their own
There's
word.
yeah, no, it's those are fun to talk about. But yeah, so I think yeah, exactly, and that's where you really got to move the needle on
Mm-hmm.
no matter what price point you are.
Yep. Yep.
And in that lower price point, if you're not getting offers in a week or two, you're probably doing the same thing, and you're going to
Yep.
have to move the needle on those price reductions because you don't want to chase the market.
Yep. Is there a
Um,
momentum lost if you wait too long to do these changes?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I think in a hotter price point, at 850 and below, it's pretty quick, 2 or 3
Mm-hmm.
weeks. You
Mm-hmm.
look at something 20, 21 days, 25 days on market,
Mm-hmm.
in that price point, you start asking what's wrong with it, calling the agent, hey, what's going on?
Yep.
Higher price point, you probably got 30 to 45 days.
Okay.
And at day 30, 35, 40, you start to get those calls of like, hey, have you had showings? What's going on with this? Is there anything in the disclosures?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's definitely momentum loss. And for us, you know, we don't have a huge seasonality. So, even going into like that October, November, I mean, granted, there's
Mm-hmm.
hopefully no fires, finger crossed,
All right.
we are still going to be busy. But it's one of those things where you're not chasing, you don't want to, there's no hard line. You don't have to get sold by November, but you do want to be cautious. So if you're going on now into summer,
Yeah.
you kind of want to have that in the back of your mind, but don't panic about it.
Right. And I think that leads us into issue number two.
Yeah.
Again, the show focuses on three major issues. So number two and three, they kind of do tie together. Number two is that sellers and buyers review disclosures together, right? Essentially, if the seller already has a disclosure package, they're ready to present it to the buyer. They're all looking at the same disclosures. It used to be that the buyer would just come do their own investigations, but today it seems like the sellers are preemptively getting disclosures ready with inspections included. What sort of issues is that causing now for buyers?
Yeah, so there's a couple things there. So that's new in the last probably 3 to 5 years, where sellers have been doing the inspections before.
Yep.
And I think the main, we're in negotiations, right? So I think the main part of that is to take away leverage from the buyer or any sort of surprises in escrow.
Renegotiations, right?
Exactly.
Because everybody loves that. You guys settle on a price and then 15 days in, the seller's committed and the buyer's like, so I think I want to drop it 20 grand. And everyone's like, what? That's not what we agreed on.
Exactly. And that's funny too, because we get into that. Now, keep in mind, when the sellers have these inspections and disclosures and they give them to the buyer, the buyer can still, obviously each deal is different, but the buyer usually still has a contingency period and they can get their own. And we've been seeing a lot of buyers backing out now with more issues than before. So say that seller provides their home and pest, then the buyer gets their home and pest and there's something else in there that they're inspecting and see $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 worth of stuff.
Right.
Before we used to be able to keep the deal together, but now buyers are so sensitive that they're kind of going, oh wait, pump the brakes, I'm out. And then
and the lender plays a role in this too, right? Because the lender will do an appraisal. And then I think, they can kind of shake things up. The appraiser could find some things that are wrong, could call for a roof inspection or a pest inspection, especially on an FHA or VA loan. The appraiser's putting more scrutiny on.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. And that's the thing too. And if we have those VA buyers and FHA buyers, I mean, and it's good to work with you on those because you tell me, hey, this is what the appraisers,
You're too nice. You're too nice.
But this is what the appraisers are looking for. So we're able to take those buyers and go to this house and get those disclosures up front. Go, hey, we got to clear section 1. This is perfect for that VA buyer. Let's go.
Right. And I will, I will go out to people's properties that they're interested in buying or once they're in contract even, and preemptively look at it and go, I'd probably do this, make sure there's a baseboard heater in this room because you can't just have a wood burning stove in Forestville.
Oh, totally.
Like we will look at a property and massage through the issues together. I think that brings us really good segue into our final issue number 3 that comes up, which is buyers need to be communicating more with their lenders all throughout the process. Talk to me about that relationship and how that really impacts things.
Yeah. So the elephant in the room, right, is interest rates. That's what everyone talks about is
all day. That's all I hear. What's your rate? What's your rate?
What's the rate? Yeah. So now with that being said is the half a point up, half a point down, all that stuff matters. We're so sensitive on the monthly payment that we need to stay in constant contact with our lender. And when I say constant, it's once a week, once every 2 weeks, just, hey, we're looking at a place that's this price point. What's it kind of looking like now? What programs are out there, and you can speak more to than I can, but like the 5.5s, the jumbo, all these different loan products have different pricing. And when we're out there showing a house, they fall in love with it. We want to make sure that they know there's no surprises, good or bad. Hey, rates went down. Hey, the payment's actually down a bit, or hey, rates went up, So I think that, and then also just on our end, in that lower competitive market, 850 and below. We got to be tight. I mean, we got to have tight loan and appraisal contingencies, which you're good at as long as the buyer's keeping pay stubs up to date, banks, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, I call it the golden rule. You know the golden rule is, Mike. He who has the gold makes the rules.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a tough way of looking at things, but we get buyers who are like resistant about sending us their financials. We want to get all that mumbo jumbo out of the way, all the grief, all the pain, all the frustration, whatever it may be from a buyer out of the way so that the transaction is super clean. Because once we're able to hit the ground running, as they say,
Yeah.
in the transaction, we're closing in 12 days. It's about how much you can front load. Mike, I heard this stat. I think I mentioned this to you before. It's a couple months old, but I'm sure it's pretty similar. 16% of all transactions are canceled by the buyer.
Yeah. It's crazy.
And I think that's a multitude of what kind of factors, inspections, but also the loan, right?
Yeah, I think it's inspection and loan, and then you kind of get that sticker shock, and that's what I'm saying is having that conversation up front. Because if you are in a $900,000 price point and your sticker shock's high, and hey, guess what? We're jumping down to the 800. It's a little bit more competitive. So now you're changing your you're changing your mindset. You're kind of looking at momentum on a property a little bit different. Of like, hey, we got to jump on this house within a week. Don't wait and see what it does. Versus the higher price point, wait and see. And then that meantime, we have the conversation with you of, hey, what's payments looking like? What's this looking like? And all that. But I think the biggest thing to kind of keep that all together is, like you said, it's all about communication between, buyer's agent, lender, and then buyer's agent and listing. Hey, what's your showing looking like? Hey, we've had, say something comes on, we had 25 showings in the first 5 days. I'm relaying that to my buyer going, hey, buyer and George, guess what? Mr. Lender and buyer, we have a ton of they have a ton of activity. We're gonna have to go quick time frames, higher price point, kind of back honestly where we saw it a couple of years ago with the bidding wars,
I'm reminded that rates about 5 years ago were around 5%.
Yeah.
Do you think anyone that had a rate at 5% was regrets buying a house 5 years ago?
Not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all. And that's the hard part, and I see both sides of it, right? I mean, historically, I think what was that 7.7 is the average interest rate or whatever it is.
It's in the low sevens right now. It's just high. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where, it's still good money, but I get the monthly payment, it's crazy how
that's
much
what it boils down to.
Yeah. And getting that. And that's where, there's ways to address that with, like the 2-1 buy downs or different loan programs. I think that's huge. So I see both sides, but at the same time, if there is a deal to be had and you can swing it, it's something where there are some houses in that little higher price point that sit for a while. You can go get $40,000-$50,000 off list.
And remember, folks, this is a market where we plan to refinance. Anybody who gets a loan in 2023 is refinancing in 24, 25, or 26. It's going to happen. So I think the best message that we can convey to you is if you find the right opportunity and you can afford it today, buy. Don't wait, because two things are going to happen. One, interest rates will come down. And two, prices will shoot up. Yeah, I promise. I promise that'll happen, folks. Get used to it.
Yeah, that is the word. So the hardest part is to convey that to people. And I get it. I'm sympathetic to the higher monthly payment.
Sure.
But the 15, 20 conversations I have weekly, maybe every 10 days on, well, once rates come down, I'm jumping in. The big issue is still the inventory. And then we can talk about that a whole nother time. But, so what happens when rates do come down and we're sitting with the same limited inventory? You're going to see that bidding war that's going down in that 850 range is going to be twice as bad. Now you're going to be seeing stuff going up $50,000, $100,000. So, where's that? Where do you want to be at? So.
Yeah, I think we'll land there. There's a severe housing shortage. People are scared to sell their house because they know it means they're going to give up a great interest rate to get into a new house. And they're not even sure that they'll find that second house. So folks, I'm talking to the sellers. You should be calling Mike Langhals to talk about listing your home. You'll get a great price from your market that you're in, and then you'll be in a position to buy now before all those changes happen. So as promised, we're going to keep this short for our viewers. Perfect. We'll have another one coming up here soon, folks. Stay tuned. Mike Langhals, W Real Estate. Really appreciate you coming on. Folks, we'll have his contact information below. And please do reach out. If you want a kick-ass realtor, Mike Langhals is your guy.
Thank you, George. Same deal on the lending. Appreciate it, man.
All right, buddy. Thanks so much.
All right.